This is the second of a series of records on cardiac auscultation being distributed by Merck, Sharp, and Dome. Splitting of sounds. In auscultation of the heart, it is important to distinguish sounds which occur close together. With training, one can learn to recognize two sounds which are closely associated in time and can make a surprisingly accurate estimate of the time interval between the two sounds. For training, you are going to hear two sounds of 0.03 seconds duration, separated by different time intervals. In the first demonstration, the two sounds occur together for several beats and only a single sound is heard. After that, the sounds are separated by 0.08 seconds. Figure 1 gives you some idea of the relative time intervals. 0.08 seconds is a rather wide separation and should be easily recognized. In the following illustrations, progressively smaller intervals separate the two sounds. In the next demonstration, you will first hear the two sounds separated by 0.08 seconds and then by 0.06 seconds. The next group will start with 0.06 second separation and go on to 0.04 second separation. In the final group, the separation is first 0.04 seconds and then 0.02 seconds. The 0.02 second separation is about as close as two sounds can occur and still be recognized as separate sounds. We will run through the entire group again. First, we have a single sound. Now the 0.02 second separation. Now the 0.04 second separation. Now the 0.06 second separation. Finally, 0.08 second separation. Listen and see if you can tell what the separation is in the following illustration. That was 0.04 seconds. Let's try again. was 0.07 seconds. The second heart sound. Of greatest importance in analyzing the second heart sound is the determination of the presence of splitting of the sound and the effect of respiration on the splitting. The second sound consists of aortic and pulmonic components. The aortic component is heard over the entire precordium. The pulmonic component is heard in a small area centering around the second and third left intercostal spaces. It is in this area, where both sounds are well heard, that splitting of the second sound into the aortic and pulmonic components is normally evident on inspiration. Listen to the two heart sounds in the second left interspace, first without splitting of the second sound. Figure 2A. The second sound is louder than the first sound and is higher pitched. Normally, the second heart sound is single or very slightly split in expiration and shows splitting with inspiration. Let us listen to inspiratory splitting of the second sound as it might occur with slow respiration. With inspiration, intrathoracic pressure is decreased. This increases the flow of blood into the thoracic portions of the vena cava and into the right atrium. The resulting increase in the filling of the right ventricle produces a prolongation of right ventricular systole, so that the pulmonic second sound is delayed. On the other hand, filling of the left atrium and ventricle is not increased on inspiration and may actually be somewhat decreased, so that left ventricular systole remains unchanged or slightly shortened. Thus, when you hear splitting of the second sound with inspiration, it is the pulmonic second sound which forms the second component of the split sound. Listen to normal splitting of the second heart sound with inspiration, figure 2A. In a number of conditions, abnormal splitting of the second heart sound occurs. In right bundle branch block, due to the delay in activation of the right ventricle, the pulmonic second sound is delayed. Thus, even in expiration, there is some splitting of the second sound, due to delay in the pulmonic second sound. Listen to the splitting in expiration, figure 2B. With inspiration, the expected delay in the pulmonic second sound due to increased filling of the right ventricle still occurs, and splitting is further increased. Note in this demonstration, where the respiration is somewhat slowed, that there is splitting in expiration which becomes more marked with inspiration. diagnosis of right bundle branch block can be made on this sign alone. In atrial septal defects, due to the shunt at the atrial level, there is always a larger amount of blood being ejected by the right ventricle than by the left ventricle. Thus, right ventricular contraction takes longer than left ventricular contraction, and there is an abnormal splitting of the second sound in expiration due to delay of the pulmonic second sound, figure 2C. As previously noted, the respiratory effect on splitting of the second sound depends on a differential effect of inspiration on filling of the right atrium as compared to the left atrium. Because of the atrial septal defect, there is in essence a common atrium, and the differential effect of respiration does not occur. Thus, the pulmonic second sound does not move with respiration in most cases of atrial septal defect, and we have a fixed splitting. In patients with left bundle branch block, the delay in activation of the left ventricle, if of sufficient degree, produces a delay in the aortic second sound, and we have splitting in expiration. During inspiration, the pulmonic second sound is delayed and falls on top of the aortic second sound, and we have a single sound. Thus, we have the reverse of what we have normally, splitting of the second sound in expiration, and a single sound in inspiration. This is called paradoxical splitting, and one can often make the diagnosis of left bundle branch block on this basis, figure 2D. Expiration, inspiration. If one of the components of the second sound is markedly accentuated, and if splitting is only mild, the accentuated sound may mask the splitting. In many conditions, where there is either pulmonary or systemic hypertension, the splitting is decreased and not evident. Note how splitting, which is evident when both sounds are of about the same intensity, may not be evident as I accentuate one sound, figure 3. Systemic hypertension produces an accentuated aortic second sound, which may be most evident in the second right interspace. The second heart sound that is heard at the apex is nearly always of aortic origin, and sometimes, in older people with deep chests, when the second sound is not very evident at the base, an accentuated second sound at the apex may be evidence of hypertension or aortic pathology. This concludes the second record in a series on cardiac auscultation presented by Merck, Sharp, and Dome.